This book is not about pointing fingers at other people, and especially the church. This book is about each of us individually looking in the mirror at ourselves. Now, despite my best efforts to keep that point clear, you may get confused about this. So I thought I would mention the true focus at the start. C.S. Lewis once said this: "Show me a man that is well-traveled, and I will show you a man that knows the lies of his own village." I love that quote. I've found this to be true as I've traveled to 26 different countries. The differences in how people think about their life in other cultures can be very revealing. Learning about these differences can serve to open our eyes to the flaws in our own thinking and approaches to life and faith. Now, I'm hoping this book will serve as a mirror to reflect aspects of our church subculture that are off base. But when I say that, I'm not speaking of other people. I'm speaking about each of us individually. We each make up the subculture we live in. Now, I have a growing concern that more and more people who call themselves Christians are unintentionally slitting the wrist of their faith. In a pursuit to be faithful, they try to will themselves into embracing habits and routines and disciplines they believe will cause them to be a better Christian. Although this seems like the right thing to do and seems to be the norm for our culture, it's actually suicidal. It is this concern that leads me to write this book. I think people are dying to be made alive again in their faith. I know countless people who long to be freed from the religious chains that bind them. Yet, they cannot seem to put their finger on what chain is actually around their neck. I'm not claiming to have unleashed any sort of secret formula to the Christian life here, nor am I claiming to have all the answers. But one thing I do know: far too many people think Christianity is simply agreeing with a certain set of doctrinal points and modifying their behavior or managing their sin to be a better person. I claim this idea and thinking as fraudulent. It might not be how we talk about Christianity, but it's certainly how we practice it. Yet, this couldn't be further from the faith Jesus invites us to live, and I think deep down we know it. I think people feel the weight of shame and guilt of this system of doing church. I know there are many Christians in the world today who don't feel quite right about their faith, and I would say with good reason. To that end, I would like to help you identify and distinguish the faith, love, and hope Jesus calls us to live by from the behavior management system we too often refer to as Christianity. So to begin, I want to ask you for your grace. I write with some very strong language at times, especially in the first section, and I did that to promote deeper thought about how you think about the Christian life. This book will require some introspection on your part. It's not that what I write is so deep, as much as it is hard to see inside yourself. But I believe that if you try to recognize these things in your life, as I have sought to do, it doesn't take long to see how they manifest themselves. This book begins by deconstructing some of the core of how we go about being the church. In part 1, I'm not looking at the institution side of things. I'm talking about each of us individually. There are times when deconstruction is necessary for building a new foundation, and I would suggest that most of us, if not all of us, need to deconstruct some of the ways we think about our faith. Then the next 4 chapters in part 2, they are about how you can develop new foundations of thinking that will affect how you live your faith. If the first section is about pinpointing some of the ways we get off track, which is a vital part of our process, then the second section is about pointing us in the right direction. It's about embracing an entirely different worldview from the current one,